When the marching orders were given to the Federal Ministry of Works by Nigerian authorities, championed by Mr. President himself, for the ministry to engage whatever was required to fix the nation's roads ahead of the last Yuletide, a few Nigerians were not too convinced that any meaningful job could be done given the short period. Well, with the benefit of hindsight, a lot was eventually done after all to give millions of road users safe passage at a time they needed it most. It enabled them to travel to distant places to reunite with loved ones and for other purposes. Since the Federal Ministry of Works got its current ministerial leadership, activities at the various work sites across the nation have really gone upbeat. In his earnest desire to transform Nigeria, President Goodluck Jonathan chose two ebullient professionals to man the post at the Ministry of Works. Architect Mike Onolememen was appointed Minister of Works, while Ambassador Bashir Yuguda got the post of Minister of State for Works.
I'm a professional project manager. That was what I was doing for a living before Mr. President appointed me to serve his government.
In the Nigerian context, a ministerial portfolio derives inspiration from the direction the executive presidency is headed. So, from the onset, the Minister of Works knew the policy thrust.
Well, our policy direction is simple at the Federal Ministry of Work. Principally is to translate the agenda of Mr. President into reality as it relates to providing better roads for Nigerians, as it relates to developing new roads, rehabilitating old and dilapidated roads, and dualizing critical highways, across the country to be able to support the nation's economy. So, in a nutshell, the transformation agenda of Mr. President is to connect the socio-political zones of this country with dual carriageways and make Nigeria roads better, safer, and more pleasurable.
A good manager first takes a look at the challenges of his assignment in order to determine how best to set about accomplishing his mandate. Architect Onolememen did just that and was confronted by a daunting scenario, just like the top federal roads stretched before him.
When I assumed office in May 2011, I would admit that the road sector was in disarray because we had quite a number of ongoing projects, totally over 168. Many of them were abandoned. Typical example is the Abuja Lokoja road. It was abandoned, and quite a number of roads across the country, including the Benin-Ore-Shagamu road, as well as the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. There were no activities in all these roads, and these are critical roads. So, in fact, at the time, Nigerian roads were described as death trap, and it became a current appearance on our national dailies. So that was the state I was appointed the Honorable Minister of Works.
And truly, under the sound direction of Architect Onolememen, epoch-making events began to take place immediately he came on board. The minister had taken a look at the administrative and operations setup on the ground and come to the conclusion that no meaningful work could ever get in progress without some shake-up of the profile he met. Something needed to be done, and fast too.
Immediately I got here to translate Mr. President's marching order into reality. I had to carry out what I would call an earth-shaking reorganization of the Federal Ministry of Works.
Earth-shaking?
Yes, because we had to do that for certain things to happen, because at the time what they had in place was such that could not deliver the dividends of democracy in the road sector to the Nigerian populace. And I could see that as a professional. In fact, the bureaucratic structure was nowhere suited for project delivery. So first of all, I have to dismantle that structure and put in place a project management structure that can effectively deliver on Mr. President's promise to deliver good roads to Nigeria. So what I did, at the time we had a director of Federal Highways resident in the headquarters here, who was in charge of the well over 35,000 kilometers of road, spanning the nooks and crannies of this country, and he took all the decisions. So of course, there were attendant delays, and obviously it was humanly impossible for him to know exactly what was happening at any point in time, since he was not on ground, and wrong decisions inevitably will have to be taken. So what I did, that particular office, first and foremost, he had an assistant, we call it the Department of Highway Construction and Rehabilitation. Then he was being assisted, that department was being assisted by the Department of Highway Planning and Design. These two departments, I've fragmented them and created about a total of about 12 new departments from these two departments. We're now 12.
At the end of the reorganization, departments such as Highway Planning and Development, Highway Design Roads, Highway Design Bridges, and Highway Materials Geotechnics and Quality Control emerged. The engineering services also witnessed restructuring, which yielded electrical and street lighting, engineering management services, and central workshop and equipment units. Besides this, the minister went ahead to give standing instructions for directors of the 6 zones the ministry had created across the country to go take up residency at their zones of appointment. According to him, the closer they were to the job at hand, the better the speed and efficiency of delivery. And if anyone applauded the choice of both Onolememen and Yuguda to oversee the Ministry of Works, their excitement would go into near adulation if they got to know the exemplary teamwork at work in the Ministry of Works.
The Minister of Works and the Minister of State Works, we have one mandate, and that mandate is to deliver on the road infrastructure in Nigeria. If we're talking about roads in Nigeria, it's one federal road network. So we work together. I'll give you an example of one of our most famous bridges, Third Mainland Bridge. And then one of you asked me, Honorable Minister, what's happening on Third Mainland Bridge? And I tell you, I don't know. Or you meet the Minister of Road, you ask him, sir, what about the rehabilitation work going on in Calabar or Goja Road? He will tell you, I think the Minister of State, we don't work like that. No, we work as a team. I have 36 offices in Nigeria. So in addition to what we do as a ministry, we also look at what FEMA is doing, because FEMA is a parastatal that is under Federal Ministry of Works.
This is in perfect synergy with the thinking of the managing director of the agency, Engineer Gabriel Amuchi.
Yes, with respect to the assignment of the agency and the mandate, to be able to execute this mandate effectively, the agency has offices in the 36 states of the Federation and the 12 geopolitical zones of the country. In all these locations we call field offices. We'll have our operation machineries, we'll have our main engineers and technicians, we'll have our equipment distributed and materials all over. Even in some states, we also operate district offices. Really? To be able to cover about 35,000 kilometers of federal roads in the country. We understand that most people believe that even if a road is a local government road, FEMA should come and attend to it. And our promise that with the spread and government program, all these will be accommodated in future, collaborating with the local governments and the states in due course. But what we want is safe ride, safe use of all federal highways in our country. The Safe Passage program was a mandate that the Minister of Works gave down the parastatals and ministry combining effort, and then the Operation Zero portal was launched by the Federal Road Maintenance Agency, that in order to get the safe passage become a reality, all roads will at least have a zero portal. Because we have discovered that what is very dangerous to road users at busy and peak period It's where you run on a good road, suddenly you have an isolated failure. You jump in and vehicles overturn. So those were the locations and similar areas that FEMA concentrated, distributing resources and materials to all our men to ensure that no such potholes exist since October last year till the end of the Yuletide and movement of people to and fro through our highways. That program, we're glad to hear from Nigerians' remarks that it was a huge success. And the Ministry of Works, in addition to the the reconstruction projects going on, also joined in several committees to see that the Safe Passage program was a success. So that's the kind of positive collaboration that we have had with the Federal Ministry of Works, and the agency is still sustaining the Zero Pothole program. And from this stage, we're now looking at having to strengthen these roads that we have been able to keep free of pothole, so that locations that are weak will receive some kind of attention by way of surfacing. And I'm assuring, I use this medium to assure Nigerians that that program will sustain.
In effect, the roads in Nigeria are divided into three: federal roads, state roads, and local government roads. However, in addition to the many dual carriageways and major roads that traverse the state's metropolis, the interstate road network to which the country owes its huge commercial, public and private traffic fall in the jurisdiction of the Federal Ministry of Works. That's a huge assignment to face. If the zonal directors have been sent to their various places of assignment, the ministers themselves have vowed not to be glued to their offices in Abuja. Theirs is not a job you do from the cozy ambience of an air-conditioned room, not even half of the time. As a proper project management team took positions on the tarmac, so to speak, it didn't take long for the changes to start yielding juicy fruits.
The ministry started living up to expectation because with that new structure, which is a typical project management structure in the private sector, things started turning around for the ministry. That was the beginning of the many successes we have recorded in the ministry.
One other thing the minister tackled head-on was the drawing up of a priority list for projects. Scarce financial resources were chasing a gigantic job of mainly rehabilitation and general maintenance. The Honorable Minister of Works just had to make another move.
Then, after restructuring, the next important thing we did was to ensure that we prioritize our projects. Because, at the time, like I said, we had about 168 ongoing projects, requiring about 960 billion naira to complete.
Almost 1 trillion.
Exactly, almost 1 trillion. And here we were. Our budgetary provision was not more than, it was in the region of about 120 billion naira. So which invariably meant that it would take us between 9 to 10 years to complete the ongoing project, which is the lifetime of 2 or 3 administrations in this country. And that is not the way to go if you want to do something serious as an administration. So the 168 ongoing projects, I reprioritized them and reduced them to about 80. Then even within that 80, we identified the economic roads, among them the major arterial roads that directly impact on the nation's economy in terms of transportation of goods, services, and persons from one point of the country to another. Then once we identified those projects, I ensured that 80% of resources to the Federal Ministry of Works was now devoted to those critical arterial roads. Among those roads selected included the Abuja-Lokoja dualization project, the Kano-Maiduguri dualization project, the Benin-Ore-Shagamu dualization project, the Onitsha-Enugu dualization project, of course, the second Niger bridge and the Oweto bridge, which invariably also benefited from the short pay program once that one came on stream in January 2012. So basically that was what we have done, and the results are now manifesting, which means that we took the right decision at the time.